Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Zanthin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Zanthin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getzantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Zanthin.
All right, how's it going, everybody? It is episode 35 here on Hawaiʻi Football Now, presented by Zanthin. Jordan, Helle, Hunter Hughes back with you here on HFN. A big shout out to our other sponsors, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaiʻi USA FCU. Already the final week of April. Spring practice is in the books. We are nearing the end of the semester. We are nearing the start of summer. We'll see some new guys getting on campus. Before you know it, it'll be August 27th and kickoff here. We're basically, 4 months away from the start of the regular season and the start officially of the Timmy Chang era. We record this Wednesday morning, April 27th at 7 a.m. Fun episode for us. We just got, I guess we start this at 7:26 because we just spent a little while here talking to Chris Brown, the new Inside Linebackers coach for the University of Hawaii, former Rainbow Great, all-WAC performer. He was honorable mention all-WAC at the end. He was first team all-WAC at middle linebacker. Like, the dude played all over the defense and was just a menace. Local guy, grew up on the windward side of Oahu. Damian, great legend. Spent the last 7 years coaching at Bishop Gorman, the last 2 as the defensive coordinator. Was also the strength coordinator basically for all of Bishop Gorman's athletic teams. All Bishop Gorman did when he was there was win like 5 state titles, 2 national championships. As successful a high school program as there was in the country. Now he's back home. He's back at his alma mater, and he's back coaching with a bunch of guys he played with way back in the day. And it's pretty exciting stuff. And we will talk to him in just a little bit. We'll get to that interview in the second half of today's episode. So a big mahalo there. Be sure to keep the podcast rolling because you won't want to miss that episode with Coach Brown. Going to be a lot of fun. And so just wanted to kind of get that plug in on our opening drive before we dive into the game time segment. So it's going to be a little shorter, obviously, with the interview this week on some of the other discussion. But as always, during the offseason, there was plenty of time to get to all of the topics. So as we transition into the game time, Jordan Hunter here with you. It is a little over 24 hours from the start of the NFL draft. And Hunter, one of my favorite events on the sports calendar is the NFL draft. Like, I just love it. Like it's kind of, as a fan, it's one of those things where you can kind of play the role of GM, right? It's like, okay, who do I like? Who would you go with? You can kind of get your hands on things. And obviously you don't get to make the picks, but your team and you're kind of living and dying. And everybody is hopeful. You get to see these college guys get a chance to further their career, especially the top picks. And then some of the guys later in the weekend, maybe a guy like Calvin Turner Jr. from the University of Hawaii. But what are you looking forward to here as we get ready for draft day? And we'll talk here in just a second about some of the Hawaii prospects who hope to get a shot.
Yeah, it's the NFL draft is an interesting one for me. It's one of the only times I can think of in the sports calendar that the media and sports writers have the most power. I really wonder sometimes if certain guys get picked up just because of hype, just because of Mel Kiper Jr., these names, these faces that we've come to know year in, year out, talking about representing the draft. And then, the guys that they recommend, they get picked up. It's pretty intriguing. Writers don't have any say over what plays get called, what happens in the season, but picking players in the NFL draft, they seem to have a lot of sway there, which is really fun. And us kind of in the business, but also just fans of the game, I agree. You feel a little more ownership and buy-in with this whole picking process. And I don't know about you, Jordan, but our Bears need help. Our Bears need big time help. So
they do. The only problem is they don't have a whole lot of draft picks. They need some offensive linemen. I think some offensive linemen, some receivers. there's a whole lot of help they need outside of like quarterback and running back for the Bears. But the problem is they don't have a whole lot of draft picks. I don't think they picked till like the late 30s because they gave up a whole lot to get Justin Fields last year. But they need to give my man some help. So it's gonna be a little tough for the Bears, and they won't even pick on day one unless they trade back in. So yeah, I'm with you. It is kind of interesting, right? Because a lot of it comes with hype. A lot of it comes with the narrative at the end of the college football season. You thought Aiden Hutchinson was like a slam dunk number 1 overall pick, and then by the time you get to the draft, you hear some other names. Not that Hutchinson is necessarily slipped, but you've heard other guys' stock rise, whether it be the Georgia defensive end or whoever else. And it's kind of funny. It's like, what changed since then? I mean, guys get into the combine and things of that nature, but it'll be pretty interesting. And so for the University of Hawaii, right, you want to get guys drafted. Like that just helps with the overall prestige of the program. That helps with recruiting. There was a time when the University of Hawaii, particularly in the June Jones era, regularly producing NFL talent and kind of unearthing gems, right? Guys like Ikaika Alama Francis, guys that, weren't necessarily high school recruits. And then you saw that even with Norm Chow and Nick Rolovich into that era as well. There was NFL talent here at the University of Hawaii. And I think, with this latest crop, coming out of the Todd Graham era, Calvin Turner really, I think, is the only guy that's got a shot to get drafted. Just sort of perusing the draft experts and looking at some of these mocks and whatnot. I don't know if he will get picked. If he is, he's probably a third day guy, 6th, 7th round, if somebody wants to take a chance on him. If not, I'm sure he will be in a rookie camp. Yeah. There's no doubt about that, but it's just a matter of whether somebody wants to draft him late in the process. Some numbers from the UH Pro Day. I know we've had some folks sort of ask about this. We covered it a little bit when we talked to Coach Abe Elamimian, who helped organize and coordinate the Pro Day last month. But to kind of refresh some of those specifics that we figured we'd get to here right before draft, Calvin Turner, 4.48 in the 40. Not the highest end when it comes to receivers, but because guys are running stupid numbers nowadays. 38.5 in the vertical, 30.5 inches, 10.3 in the broad jump, 19 reps on the bench, right? That's 225 at the combine, 7.10 on the 3-cone, 4.3 on the shuttle. Like his elusiveness, his short area quickness is really good. His straight line speed isn't maybe in the top 1% or anything like that, but it's not like the dude is slow. And he's another one of those guys where he's freakishly athletic. I mean, you just look at him in some of these testing numbers. You look at his high school basketball tape. Like the dude is ridiculous. And then you put on his game film. Like he's one of those guys. It's like, what? I don't care what the numbers say. And it's not like the numbers are bad. Just put on his game tape and the way that this guy can move with the football. And he's done it, right? At quarterback at Jacksonville, running back and receiver at the University of Hawaii, returner. Like he's different. Like the way he moves is different. And it's hard to find that. And I don't know exactly what his future holds, right? But we're seeing the NFL is cyclical. The NFL likes to copycat. The NFL likes to replicate things that are in vogue, and the Deebo Samuel receiver running back thing, like that's Calvin Turner, right? That's what Calvin Turner can do. And so if it's a guy like Kyle Shanahan who's sitting there and like, we'll trade Deebo, let him go sign his money, and then find somebody on the cheap like Calvin late in the draft or in free agency or something like that. That's the kind of athlete, that's the kind of offensive skill guy that I think teams are looking for. So I do think he will have interest. There's no doubt about it. The guy that prolific, a guy that productive, somebody's got to take a chance on him. And hopefully he gets drafted late, at least to a good location. But, outside of San Francisco, I don't know who may be in the market for him. But other than that, we can get to some of the other guys who took part in the pro day and whatnot. But Calvin's the guy, right? I mean, clear cut, the best chance of any Hawaii product this year to get drafted.
Oh yeah, without a doubt in my mind. I mean, I look at that stat line, and for his pro day, those are solid numbers. And then I think the main thing that those scouts are looking at is his game tape. And I mean, he has Reggie Bush-esque ability to reverse the field on Division I speed, which not everyone can do. And so that's not just speed, that's not just versatility, it's certain football IQ and intangibles to be able to accomplish that at the D1 level. I mean, very, very, very few people can do what Calvin did for us. And Jordan, if I can speak candidly, it still bugs me. I wouldn't say I lose sleep over it, but the fact that Coach Graham did not make it more of a priority to get him 3 returning yards. My guy was 3 returning yards.
That's right. Yeah.
Of being the only guy in NCAA history with 1,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving, and 1,000 yards returning. He would have been the only guy ever. And so the reason it bugs me is because that's a story. The NFL is always looking for stories to promote, and a guy coming from UH, we usually need breaks for guys to get drafted. And a guy like Calvin, that would be just a phenomenal story for him going into the NFL. But, the stats speak for themselves. So does the tape. He will get an opportunity, whether it be on draft day or with some sort of a free agent contract with a team. He will get an opportunity. With that, I have no doubt. He's just too great of a versatile package that guys in the NFL use, whether it be on special teams, offense, or he could probably even figure out how to play defense, man, that kind of an athlete. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, I mean, if he ends up with the Patriots or something, Bill Belichick will find a way to get him on the field, right?
Bill probably knows everything about him already.
Oh, for sure. He probably knows that he had 997 career return yards or something like that. Yeah, Bill would be there. Some other guys took part in the pro day of note. Safety Chima Azuna, 4.54 in the 40, 17 reps on the bench, 36.5 vert. Cortez Davis, kind of an intriguing prospect at corner, 15 reps on the bench. Wide receiver Jared Smart, 6.94 in the 3-cone. He's another one, right? I'd imagine who may get an invite. I would put him pretty comparable to JoJo Ward, who spent some time right with the Arizona Cardinals, who is now playing in who has experience now in some of the other leagues. And then you got Pita Tonga, the defensive lineman, the Utah transfer that came in, had a pretty nice year for the University of Hawaii. He may be a name you see pop up as well in terms of pro potential. And for some of these other guys, with the XFL coming back next spring, the USFL currently ongoing, I don't know what the likelihood of guys, who are waiting for the NFL draft and then jumping into the USFL that's already a couple of weeks in. I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but if it's viable and it's around for years to come, right, there are other opportunities for these guys to try and make a go of it as a professional football player. So, yeah, before we kind of move on here, Hunter, did you have any thoughts on some of the other guys who are, putting their name out there, who are trying to latch on?
Yeah, I wish these guys nothing but the best. I'm speaking also to some of my former teammates that are still out there running around, making an effort of it. Drew Brown's about to start his camp up in Winnipeg again.
Nice.
The Canada schedule is a little bit different because it's so stinking cold up there that their season is kind of late spring into summer. That's kind of how all of that works for those guys. And for those listening that whether it be recruits, whether it be current players, if the NFL is not, an opportunity that presents itself to you, there are so many other possibilities out there. I mean, I'm living proof of that. Did not play one down of football at UH, but it got an opportunity to play professionally in France. I mean, what? It's a beautiful thing that this game has evolved and is expanding all over the world. All sorts of different opportunities are coming up. So just because this one may or may not surface, keep your head up and keep going, because you never know what's right around the corner.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the game has grown in Europe. It's huge in Japan. The CFL, as you mentioned, which is really high level. The Blue Bombers, man, Winnipeg. Yeah. A lot of fun. Yeah, a guy I backed up in college. He was the quarterback in Winnipeg for a few years and spent some time in the CFL. So I am familiar with getting some games on the old ESPN 360 that used to exist and watching. watching the stream on some of those, but you can catch a lot of CFL games now on television in the US. So kind of transitioning from guys on their way out of the program at the University of Hawaii to guys on their way in, and kind of on the back half of this opening half of this 35th episode here on HFN. Some exciting transfers. Like there's a lot of buzz. You also saw a number of local recruits make it known over the last 48 hours that the University of Hawaii has made offers. Guys that are freshmen now in high school, guys that are sophomores now in high school, picking up offers from the University of Hawaii. And that is something that we talked to Coach Chris Brown about a little bit as well. But some of these transfers coming in, you've got, I think the biggest name over the last week has been defensive lineman Mataio Soli, 6'4", 245-pound edge rusher from Arkansas. Yeah, this dude spent the last 3 years in the SEC. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school from Georgia. He played in like 11 games as a freshman, and then his playing time slowly diminished over the last couple of years, but he was pretty productive, especially as a true freshman coming out. This dude had offers from double digits, like a number of Power 5 schools, including Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Florida State, Notre Dame, Oregon. And that's just like the top. And I mean, everybody in between, he had offers from. Like this is a dude.
Those are the ones there, man.
Yeah. You know, and so again, it's not like he's just rolled the bench at Arkansas. He's played. And he's, I think, got 3 years to play too, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I was trying to determine that, but again, it is murky with the whole COVID year. Exactly. And I'm sure there are some other sources out there that can give you a little more concrete on that. But this is a guy. This is a guy, and a guy who has played some, right? I get it. Some of these transfers that come from Power 5 schools, not necessarily just the University of Hawaii, but in general, you know, things don't work out. They haven't really played. Like Soli's got playing experience. He's got playing experience in the SEC West of all leagues. So, man, this guy coming in, it is a position of need for the University of Hawaii. And at least from a profile standpoint, for UH, it's hard to do much better than Mataio Soli at 6'4", 245, former 4-star coming out.
Yeah, I mean, put aside all of the offers, the stars, whatever. I mean, he's 6'4", 245, Jordan. I mean, even if you're not getting through the line, that's a clogger if I've ever seen one right there. You can't teach big. And at a position group that you and I have long said on this podcast, from what has, you know, transpired this last year with transfer portal, probably the greatest need is our defensive line. So could not be happier for what this coaching staff continues to accomplish, both in recruiting and in transfer portal. Just acquisitions, if you will. It's kind of a new era, and they're getting after it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's basically what it is, right? And another example of this coaching staff finding these kids, Polynesian backgrounds, right? And getting that recruiting, and guys like, you know, Keiki Misipeka on the coaching staff, some of these other guys that have spent time sort of in that part of the country, right? The Southeast, the Midwest, like there are these guys, there are these Polynesian families that occupy all corners of the continent, and finding that it's not just a West Coast thing, right? It's not just a Hawaii thing. Like these talented guys are out there and building those connections and finding these guys. That is huge.
They don't have any palm trees in Fayetteville. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, it's a little different. It's a little different climate. You know, they cook their pig in the ground. They drive lifted trucks out there too, but it's just a little different climate when it comes to Fayetteville and you know, Honolulu.
Woo pig.
That's right. And then another kind of exciting transfer is Jordan Wright. He's a corner out of Fullerton City College, 5'11", 175 pounds, originally from Tennessee. I think he's from Memphis, if I'm not mistaken, to get a little more specific, but from Tennessee. He's a guy 3 years to play too. He's coached by former UH safety Phil Austin, who's the coach there at Fullerton. So right, build on these connections, build on these ties wherever you can find. And another position of need, right? With the transfer of some corners, with Cortez Davis, you know, matriculating his way into post playing career He's a guy who had offers from Kansas State, SMU, Washington State, Utah State, some schools of notes. And another guy who could come in and compete at corner. He joins what is now a handful of transfers, either Power 5 or JC, coming in to help out that secondary on defense. So, he's another one that, obviously he's not of the profile of Sully, but he's a guy that comes highly recommended, obviously, from a former UH guy, and fills at least the competition at a very important spot and in a position of need.
Oh yeah. I'm sure that was a hand-picked selection by Coach Abe to just continue to pad out that cornerback DBG life that is over there. For those listening, that's been a long-standing tradition of UH cornerbacks calling themselves the DBG crew. And so excited to see what this guy can do coming in there. We really have kind of adopted this next man up kind of mentality with this team, with everything that's gone down these last couple of months, and especially this spring. So many guys in the mix, and I know that's just going to continue heading into fall camp this summer.
Yeah, and others have pointed this out, right? Like on Twitter, some of the diehard fans and the observers on the message boards and whatnot. So shout out to all of them, right? Because these guys bleed green and are the lifeblood really of the fan base. Mm-hmm. But they've pointed out, like Coach Abe recruits, he's got a pretty high success rate when he brings in these defensive backs. Like he has an eye for quality, especially corners. Like his recruits, he knows what he's doing. And so that is something, just based off of pedigree and just based off of track record. I think Jordan Wright's a guy that we can get excited about. And then another one, UNLV defensive lineman, St. Louis product, Anthony Sangapolo-Tele, 5'11", 240. He's transferring home. I think he was a preferred walk-on at UNLV, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't a massive recruit or anything like that. He was really productive at St. Louis and played on a defense that had 9 starters, maybe even more, because some of them were underclassmen, become Division I scholarship guys. Like, it was a stupid defense. This is the Nick Herbig, the younger Herbig brother, Jordan Botello. Some of the, that was that defense. Like, they were ridiculous. And he was one of those defensive linemen as part of that group. Herbig at Wisconsin, Botello at Notre Dame now. Mm-hmm. And so again, look, the more quality defensive linemen you can get, the better, right? Depth at that position, you can never have too much of it. And beyond that, just off the field, like another local kid who's coming home. I know ESPN Honolulu on some of our social media accounts, they put out there, right? And he just talking about how excited he was, and he couldn't pass up the opportunity. Like, he said, hey, I got a chance to come home and play for the University of Hawai'i. Like, I had to do it. And so he's leaving a division rival in conference to come home, and from a high school program that speaks for itself. Like, you want to keep those relationships, and obviously that is happening with guys like Coach Yoro and Timmy Chang on the, as part of the coaching staff. But that's you want the Wyndon Hole Hoolies to come home, the former, like 5-star guys, no doubt, but you also want some of these other guys. Like, that is the backbone. That is I don't know if Sangapolo-Tele is going to be on scholarship or what, but that's the lifeblood, man. Getting these local kids that serve as sort of the spine of this group. That's good stuff.
I mean, it's showing what you and I have talked about, the one place that Hawaii can be how do I say this? The one place they can be dominant in the recruiting era is with local kids, bringing them home right now, especially with transfer portal allowing for all sorts of new possibilities in that category. This is where we can compete with the big dogs, is the certain intangibles that Hawaii brings, the local culture, the island life, closer to family. A lot of times these kids, if not directly from Hawaii, they have some sort of Polynesian connection with an auntie or an uncle that's right down the road. It's a big deal this is where we can separate ourselves and how we are different among all of the schools at the Division I level. UH can compete here, and it's showing that something is different about this Timmy Chang era that is, captivating to these recruits to want to come home and taste and see it for themselves. They want to be a part of the BRADDAHHOOD, Jordan. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And it is guys like Timmy Chang at the top. It is guys like Chris Brown, the linebackers coach, like the recruiting. I think we are already seeing some of those dividends being paid off with all of those connections. It is exciting to see. Again, the caveat always, right? That's got to parlay to success on the field, but it has been a positive momentum building. I think that is undeniable. As to how far that momentum can take them, that's obviously the $1 million question, but it is good stuff so far here. So let's take a quick break. We're going to head into our halftime here, and then on the other side, we got Coach Chris Brown coming up in a fun conversation that we had with him a little earlier, talking all kinds of stuff as he joins the University of Hawai'i coaching staff. But before we get there, we do got to remind you of this amazing supplement called Zanthin. Our good friends over at Zanthin, doctors and pharmacists recommend it for everything from joint and muscle function, cholesterol health, and cognitive function improving as well, even anti-aging. But of course, only Zanthin delivers 3 times more astaxanthin to your body, making it a better buy than the competition. Introducing Zanthin, available at getzantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, GNC stores, and Pharmacare Hawaii. Learn more at getzantho.com. All right, second half coming up here.
This is Hawaiʻi Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time. Jordan and Hunter back with you here on episode 35 of Hawaiʻi Football Now. No further delays. Let's get to our interview with Hawaiʻi Inside Linebackers coach and alum, Chris Brown. All right, Coach A, thanks for joining us. It's 7 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. We know you guys have been hard at work for a while now because that's just how you guys grind. But thanks for jumping on with us. I just kind of wanted to start kind of generally. You've been away from home, if you will, cutting your teeth in the coaching ranks at the high school level. You get a chance to come home. What has it been like so far? What is it, basically 4 months into the job? But what's it been like being back at the alma mater on the other side of things as a coach now?
It's great. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just being around football again at the University of Hawaii, being around these football players, just, man, like going and grinding with these kids every single day. Like for me, like that's like, it brings back so much memories, so it actually it sparks me to actually want to do better, and I'm looking at my linebacker room and I'm seeing them out there and I'm kind of looking at them like, how can you guys get better? What can I do to help you guys get better? And there's times when if you can see it, like, I'll get in the drills with these guys, and I'll jump in them and I'll start, working with them because I'm just so passionate, I think, about, them guys being successful and it's been great though. I mean, I've been every single day. It's been a grind, but it's just been so great to be back home.
Yeah, and I think anybody who knows you, who's followed you from your playing career, coaching career, there will be no shortage of energy and passion. And I think that is evidence right there by that first answer. There seems to be a renewed energy, excitement. I think it was evidenced at the spring game the other weekend, just everything that's going on from the inside, from the coaching staff in those coaching meetings. Is that something you all can sense? I know it's been pretty purposeful from Timmy, from the coordinators, everybody we've talked to, that this is something that this group is trying to do. You're trying to get the energy back, get the excitement back from the fan base. But is that something that you all can sense? And if you can kind of put into words how that's been built up here over the last few months?
When Timmy first got hired and he put together the coaching staff, the very first thing he said is we need to rebuild the culture. We were a part of something that was so amazing. And yes, the game has changed over the last 20 years, but the culture is what needs to be brought back, because that's what made us so great. It was the fact that you played for the brother next to you, and we played not for a football team. We played for the state of Hawaii and all of the Pacific Ocean, and it was it was something that we had a lot of pride in. And that was like the very first thing that, Coach Timmy said is that we need to rebuild. And every single day it's been, what can we do? What can we do to make the culture great again? So whether it was getting out in the community or, putting things on social media to remind the state that the culture is the most important thing in rebuilding this thing, not the football program now, okay, but more of just bringing back the pride, the pride to this football team and what it meant for us and 50,000 people coming out to Aloha Stadium. It was more than just a game. Like I said, we played for the people, we played for the state, and and I think that Coach Timmy has done a great job with us, just embracing it and promoting it.
Yeah, no, Coach, speaking of which, as another alumni, friends of mine, former teammates, whenever we're down there, we feel that. I mean, it's been a complete shift for all of us, not to mention some COVID things have opened up too, which always helps with that as well. But we have felt that shift back to kind of what we know and love about Hawaii football. And just want to tip my cap to you guys in the job that you guys have done so far. And, your position group, Coach, at Inside Linebackers, I was particularly impressed with this whole spring. Just sort of the buy-in too. Have you noticed that with the guys? I was a quarterback, so on the opposite side, the buy-in, the commitment, the need for guys to be on the same page for the linebacking core is probably the most important on the defensive side of the football. How's that been for the guys this spring?
Absolutely. I mean, I always felt the middle linebacker was the quarterback of the defense, the one that commands everything. So I think, that was one of the things that I wanted to tell these guys from day one. Like, your role is the most important, I believe, on the defense, because if not for you, you're the captain, you're the leader, and it's more than just playing the game. But I think that they started to slowly buy in and started to understand, maybe Coach is right. What about this? Now, don't get me wrong. These are great football players. And, physically, they're really good, but it's more than just that. It's just the commanding, and me being there and, I think me just barking things out and yelling at them and just kind of constantly being on them in a way of not talking down to them, but encouraging them. I think it's, I think they bought into it and they believe, because I tell them all the time, I said, look, everything that I'm telling you guys, I've done. I'm never going to do something that I'm never going to teach you guys something or tell you to do something I've never done. I've lived it. I've been there. And the great thing is that now I can pass that knowledge off to you guys, and you guys can be even greater. You guys can do even better. Because I know the formula. I know, and I played with the Albrecht in the Pisatino Samoa, and these guys were very successful, not just in college football, but in the NFL, and what it took. And it was the leadership, it was the hard work. So it's just passing that off, and I think they're buying in pretty well to it.
That's awesome. Coach, I graduated in 2017, had the opportunity to play with a couple of your former players from Bishop Gorman. And one thing I noticed, about all those guys was they played a hard-nosed style of football. And I have to imagine a lot of that came from coaches like yourself. We've gotten a chance to talk with Coach Abe and Coach Yor about the specific style and brand of defensive football that we want to bring back to UH. Can you speak to that at all a little bit on what sort of emphasis you're trying to put at the linebacker position at UH? Toughness.
You need to be tough. I told him this from day one. I said, we can learn X's and O's all you want. We can teach you guys everything that you need to know when it comes to X's and O's and play calling. But at some point, you're going to have to learn how to run through a wall without knowing what's on the other side. You're going to have to go 100 miles an hour and you're going to have to play. Sometimes X's and O's goes out the door in the fourth quarter when these guys are driving, that offense is driving and you need to stop. You need to stop these guys. So what is it going to take? That's heart and soul and just being tough, and when it comes down to it, it's a fight when you're out there. It's me versus you, and you're going to have to realize, like, either you're going to win and the team wins, or we're going to stop you, and we're going to win. So, I think that Coach Yoro has said it, very well to the team about we're going to be a high, like strong, tough defense that flies around. And then I think it's up to us, myself, Coach Abe, Coach Etty, and, Coach Josh, to actually instill it in these guys that you know what, you're going to have to play really, really, really tough.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Coach Yoro. We had him on the pod a few weeks ago, and I mean he's told us a lot of the same things, and it started with toughness. It started with playing for the guy next to you and having that trust. He also told us, we should expect to see a pretty multiple defense. He said to survive, in college football these days, like you got to be multiple. The way that the offenses come at you these days with this linebacker group, it's one that Hunter and I have been pretty high on. He already mentioned it, but with guys like Pune Pavihi back, Isaiah Tufonga back, bringing in some transfers, right? Kema, Blanks, Wyndon Ho'ohuli coming back home. How do you sort of envision the linebacker group fitting in Coach Yoro's sort of overall scheme, and seeing how these guys are deployed? Because, these guys, at least from what we've seen in years past, are pretty versatile. Like they can play multiple roles.
Just those two guys you mentioned, Panay and Isaiah, you have Panay, who's a really big body, NFL prototypical linebacker size. And then you have Isaiah, who's probably one of the smartest linebackers I've ever been around, who you can actually say something, he picks it up on the first shot, on the first try. And I think the mixture of the two is really, really good for the defense. I think now that we have installed the defense, I think now it's all about performing. We can teach the X's and O's, but how you actually going to perform the X's and the O's, I think during spring, they had a really good spring and they kind of got a feel for the defense, but now it's coming downhill and smacking that offensive tackle and smacking that offensive lineman and getting your feet under you and making the open field tackle on the running back. Those are the things now that we got to work on to prepare for August 27th. But those two guys, especially those two guys, I mean, you talk about just throwing the book at them and just saying like, hey, I need you to learn this. I need you to learn this. I mean, just like that, just, unbelievable, man, how smart these guys are. And I think that once they can put the education and the physical together, you're going to have two really, really, really good linebackers and some other guys that's below them that are hunting too. They're coming, and they're learning under two really good guys. And I think that it's only going to raise the bar in the room.
Yeah, and that's exciting to hear. I think for a lot of folks, and that's a position that a lot of people will be keeping their eye on. Kind of wanted to circle back to your time at Gorman, and spending a lot of years coaching at that level and working with kids, of the high school age. Has that I'm curious how that sort of influenced you now as somebody who's now recruiting kids that age, right, to come to the next level. I got to imagine there's some advantages to having spent a lot of time at the high school level working with kids, especially at that caliber, right? The level that Gorman is always consistently at. But now that you sort of parlay that into going into those guys' living rooms and trying to convince them, their families to choose Hawaii, to choose UH, how is there a little bit of crossover? Is there stuff you take from your time coaching high school?
People think that Gorman was, filled with a lot of five-star guys and a lot of, like these big time athletes. But what it was these guys grinded harder than any team I've ever been around. And you talk about the grind and the long hours in 115 degrees in the desert, and these guys pushing every day. And I always say it's iron sharpens iron. It's just how these guys pushed each other and worked hard and it raised their bar every single day. And, for me, it was seeing that kind of hard work. And then now taking it into these, to these families and being able to talk to them and saying like, look, everybody is the same at the end of the day. There's a couple of guys that are faster, stronger than you, but at the end of the day, it's hard work, and if you can learn how to work as hard as you possibly can and embrace the good physical attributes that you do have and put it all together, you can be a really, really good football player. But yeah, I think that just learning that, at Gorman and now being able to recruit, I think that's huge for me because like I said, like I'm a real guy. I've been around, these guys who have grinded, and I can actually say like, hey, you can be a really good special player, but it's going to take hard work no matter where you're at.
Except for those shoulders, coach. I don't know if those are real. We're gonna need you to test those up a little bit. But,
listen, I did flies right before I did this. Don't get it wrong, okay?
Just get the blood flowing a little bit. That's all.
That's right. Oh man. Yeah, coach, with regards to what has transpired this offseason, the defense and in particular the linebacker and a little bit more on the DB with Corey Bethley, but then also mainly Darius Muasau, losing those guys was such a blow to our team, not just from a personnel thing, but what those guys carried. I mean, they were the driving and leadership force on the defensive side of the ball. Who are a couple of those guys that you see filling that role on the leadership level for the defense going into this season?
There's been a couple of them, definitely. I can speak of just in my own room, just like what I said with Isaiah and Panay.
Awesome.
We lost Darius, but I also believe like this is a fresh new start. It's a brand new coaching staff. It's a brand new era. The culture is being built again, and we're going to rebuild it with guys like Panay and Isaiah, JT and Blessman and guys like that who are buying in and are grinding and are ready to go. Now, don't get me wrong. Like losing those guys is big time. Those are big time football players. But I also believe that we have some that are really, really, really special. And it's going to take all 11 to make this team run, to make this defense run. And it's not one person, I think it's going to be all of them. But I think the entire defense is starting to buy in. So watch for something pretty great, I think.
Yeah, it's a group that I think can be really, really productive again. Just everybody, observing and taking this in. It's a group to be excited about. And sort of on that note, just personally for you being back home, getting to sort of experience everything that comes with living back in Hawaii. I know you've been working pretty much nonstop probably since you got back, right? But what's it been like for you and those around you, just sort of being back in the islands on a full-time basis?
Listen, man, it was a pretty tough transition going from Vegas to Hawaii now, okay? I love Hawaii, but, you realize where you are as soon as you come off the airport and you go right onto the freeway and you go right into traffic, Yeah. You're just like, oh, my goodness. So I go to Safeway last night and I buy a bag of groceries that cost me $90, But being back home and being with the people is what's, that's been so great. Just how they've embraced the football team and embraced us being home. Going to the beach the other day and, having, the people walk over to you and coach, great job. Can we take a picture with you? And, it's been so great because, it's not one individual. I think the entire state is starting to really, really buy in, and that's been great for us because everywhere we go, they're encouraging us, they're supporting us, and that's been great. But making the move from Vegas is you go from 90 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, So that's been like, oh man, like I said last night, man, $90 on one bag of groceries. Like, man, come on, man, just chicken breast in there. That's all it is.
And protein powder.
Just some lean proteins, man. We're trying to get the
chicken breast, eggs. Oh my goodness, man, $90.
That. I hear you on that. That is, I guess that's the trade-off, right? Especially coming from Vegas.
Right.
And just kind of one last thing for you, Coach. With what you've been talking about, and you've mentioned a couple of times, being able to talk to your guys about, hey, look, I've been through this. I've been through the grind. I know what it takes. But you're also a guy, Damian guy, right? Like you've come through the Hawaii's high school scene. You've grinded, right? Not at the biggest of schools and we're able to make it. And so with the buy-in of the state, also, I think that the big part of that is getting the buy-in of local recruits, getting these local kids to view UH as a viable choice to stay home with more regularity than maybe we have seen over the last, several years. And so it seems like we're getting that a little bit, right? Kids either deciding to stay home, kids deciding to transfer back after maybe things didn't work out on the mainland. I know the coaching staff, has been very proactive in going after younger recruits as well, guys, underclassmen. Some of that news coming out yesterday. I know you can't comment necessarily on any specifics or anything like that, but the value of somebody like yourself who grew up here, that can go into these households and share that experience and getting these recruits home, getting guys to come in from the mainland that have Polynesian ties, whether of Polynesian ancestry or just ties to island culture, and getting those guys. There seems to be something building there. And I got to imagine that's pretty purposeful on your guys' part.
Yeah. I tell everybody that, this time that I had playing with Timmy, playing with Nate and Derek and Keiki and Abe, it was the greatest times of my life. And if it wasn't for the University of Hawaii, I would never have made these relationships. If it wasn't for the University of Hawaii, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. And it was all because of a football team that played for the state of Hawaii. And it was something that we take and we hold and we cherish, with all our hearts, because it was a special time. It was the bond, the relationships, and it's playing for the brother next to you. And I believe in my heart that there's no other place in the United States that has that kind of brotherhood other than here. We might not have these NIL $1 million deals for anybody, but what we do have is that we have a brotherhood, we have a family, we have a whole state behind us, and we have a whole Pacific Ocean behind us, and no matter what, we'll take that with us for the rest of our lives. The relationships that we've made, 20 years later, and I'm coaching with Timmy now, And it all started from me trying to beat him up every day out there on the practice field, But, the brotherhood that we've made, it's so special. And that's what I want to tell all these young guys that, I was a kid from Damien. I played with kids from Kahuku. I played with players from St. Louis, and no matter where we came from in the state of Hawaii, we all came together at the University of Hawaii and became brothers that still to this day, these guys are my best friends. And I just believe that there's no other place in the United States that has that kind of bond and that kind of brotherhood. But it's something that, I will push for the rest of my life. I will push this because I believe this is the place to play. You're going to get the best out of you because you're truly a warrior, each and every day. And I believe that that's what's going to make us different than everybody else.
No, that is good stuff. And I think that's the relatable aspect of it all, right? With the makeup of this coaching staff, it's real, it's tangible. You can't fake that, for lack of a better word. No. And Coach, we excuse me, we really appreciate you taking some time out. I know you got a lot of work to do early in the morning. You guys are out there. You guys are in film. You guys are doing all the good stuff. So we really thank you for jumping on. And I got to say, me and Hunter are kind of offensive guys, but it's been the three coaches who've jumped on have all been defensive guys so far on our humble little podcast here. So shout out to the defensive staff. Yes. Coach Yoro, Coach Abe have taken some time. So we really appreciate it. I know everybody's busy. We're just playing along, but we really appreciate it. And big mahalo and best of luck this season. And I'm sure we'll touch base as we get closer and closer to kickoff come August.
Thank you guys for having me on, man. It's been great. Warriors, go Warriors.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
This is Hawaiʻi Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, Hunter, that was a lot of fun. Great conversation with Coach Chris Brown. You can't help but be excited when you hear from him. You can't help but be a little intimidated just by, kind of looking across the virtual table at him. Because the dude still looks like he could be first team all conference at middle linebacker, and just, probably just throwing around weight in the weight room, just getting the blood flowing. The enthusiasm is there. The experience is there. And I can't think of a better guy to step into this role and, kind of take the reins when it comes to the linebackers under Coach Yoro, the defensive coordinator, under Timmy Chang, the head coach. He's the right guy for the job.
Yes. Oh, if he doesn't have a say in the strength and conditioning portion of our program, I'm sure he probably will in the near future, just in terms of mass building. For those listening at home, if you see if you come to practice or you come to a game, the largest human on the field not wearing pads is Coach Chris Brown. I mean, without a doubt in my mind. I tapped the shoulder of a couple of my former teammates. I'm like, goodness. I mean, I've been hitting the gym and I feel so insecure standing next to that guy. I mean, he looks like The Rock, you guys. I mean, it's unbelievable.
The Rock is jealous of Chris Brown. Let's be real.
I think, especially with those shoulders, you would have to straight boulders.
Yeah. And the thing you love about Coach Brown, like, man, he is still just so down to earth and so approachable and really just sort of bleeds for these kids and bleeds for this program. And you love that. And his enthusiasm, never short when it comes to it. So big mahalo to him for jumping on with us this morning. Big thanks to our producer Jaron as well for securing that interview. Always a lot of fun. And as we joked with him, we're 3 for 3 on defensive coaches, man. We got Hunter, we got to start getting some offensive coaches on here to balance it out. Of course, we playfully sort of prod there, but big thanks to Coach Brown, especially, I know these guys are at work early, but that doesn't necessarily mean they want to talk to anybody that early. And so we appreciate him taking out some time. It's 7:00 on a Wednesday morning to talk story with us.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Guaranteed. Special thanks, Coach. We're so excited for what you guys are creating. And we are so excited for this season. Thank you again, Coach Brown.
Yeah. Big thanks there. All right. We do want to give a shout out. We got some comments on YouTube, on Facebook and whatnot. We didn't know we were getting Coach Brown until late last night, so we're going to table some of those comments for next week. But shouts to our guy Al Kavika as well on Facebook. Always quick to drop us a line, and we appreciate it. But just quickly kind of getting into our overtime segment here, I wanted to kind of bring this up, Hunter, sort of UH football adjacent. University of Hawaii basketball team got a massive recruit the other day, earlier this week. Morsek, he's 7 feet tall. He played at Prolific Prep, one of these basketball factory sort of prep schools. The dude's got a 7'6" wingspan. He had offers from a lot of he had an offer from Kansas. Like, this is unheard of for the University of Hawaii in a long, long time. And in some of his comments to local media, I think he talked to Rob DeMello, some of these other guys, he brought up, and this was, you heard the buzz at the spring game because there was a 7-foot dude walking around, and he's hard to miss. But he brought up the spring game. Like, he said it was awesome and he had a lot of fun. And he spent like a day at campus, and that was one of the things they took him to. And I don't know how big a role he played, but it surely made a difference. And this guy is signed with Hawaii. This is as big a recruit as they have gotten in a long time. Like, they got Kamaka Hepo, who was a former huge recruit coming out of high school. Didn't quite work out for him at Texas, but they got him last year, who was very productive. Now they got Sek coming in. So you got these two huge guys who can play. And it is big. Like, that is huge. And you see like football players tweeting at them, right? Some of the UH football players on campus tweeting at them like, "Hey man, welcome to the BRADDAHHOOD," all this kind of stuff. Like, there is a synergy that I don't know if I've really seen on campus. Some of the UH football coaches were at the Bellator event on Saturday night. Cyborg, right? Former UFC champ. Now she's the Bellator champ. She walks out with a UH football jersey.
Wearing 29, man.
Wearing 29.
Number.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, this is on national TV. Like, it's on Showtime. It's an international event. And it's a University of Hawaii football jersey. And it's got Cyborg on the back. And somehow they got connected. And Timmy Chang's retweeting it. And he's getting the turnover on social media, right? And it reaches the masses. Like, these stuff, man, it's different. It's different. And it's great, because it is spreading the program, it is promoting the program, and it is now branching out to other athletic teams on campus, like the basket. Does Morsek join with basketball program if the spring game isn't as built out and as festive as it was? I don't know, but it sure didn't hurt, right? And I'm just really impressed, and I think it's a big deal that you've got some of these events, right? You got the big signing, you got Cyborg. She's as big a mixed martial artist, outside of the top UFC people currently, but for a time, she was as big as all of them. This is It's pretty cool.
I mean, Mr. Matlin, this is the effects of getting the football coach right. Let me just put it that way. You get the football coach right, and so many other dominoes start to fall as well. And these guys are doing it right. They're doing it in a manner that is with the times of 2022. I mean, this is just the way you sort of play the game and do it in the proper way. And yeah, it is a brotherhood beyond just your own sports team. It kind of feels like high school when you're down mixing it up with the other student athletes. It's a very small lower campus community down there. You know everybody because you're studying together in the student athlete study section. So the fact that our team was able to kind of play a role, if not a major one, in signing a recruit like this, it just gets me really excited. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is, man. Big football recruits. Chris Cyborg walking out with the UH football jersey. It was a cool weekend and built on the momentum of the previous weekend spring game. And then one last shout out, the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team in front of a rocking crowd on Saturday night sweeps Long Beach State. I don't know if anybody saw a sweep coming. I think a win was in the cards. The number 3 national seed in next weekend's NCAA tournament in UCLA. And they've got a pretty good shot, I think, to win it. I like their path on their half of the bracket. Long Beach and UCLA are on the other half of the bracket. They're going to have to win 3 games to win the national championship, not 2. They didn't get one of the top 2 seeds, but the path is there, I think, for Charlie Wade's squad. So it is exciting times. The football, the volleyball, water polo coming in runner-up in the Big West Conference. Baseball has been on a roll as of late. Things are trending upward for the athletics program, and I think a lot of that, honestly, you can point to the football program sort of being a catalyst for all of that. And I know this is a football-centric podcast, but it's kind of hard not to
be a little biased.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard not to connect those dots. So
yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. Hey, Hunter, any last words before we get out of here? A little long on this episode, but for good reason, as Chris Brown joining us. Big mahalo to him.
Yeah, everyone stay safe. Have a great NFL draft weekend. Hope your team gets who you're hoping for.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun. All right, that'll do it for us. Episode 35. Again, big mahalos to Zanthin, Spectrum Mobile, Hawaii USA, FCU as well. This has been another episode of Hawaiʻi Football Now. For Hunter, our producer Jaron as well, Jordan saying aloha. We'll see you next week, everybody.
You've been listening to Hawaiʻi Football Now with Jordan Helle and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.